Welcome to another edition of Bardo's Breakdown. I'm your host, Stephen Bardo. Hope everybody enjoyed themselves over the holiday weekend. Hope everybody was safe and ate a little bit too much and saw good friends and family. I know I did. So um, looking forward to this show today. We got a really good interview with Ohio State assistant coach Jamall Walker. Some of you Illinois fans may remember that name. He was once on the Illini staff with John Gross. So we go in depth about his Ohio State Buckeyes and kind of give an update on what they're looking like and what to expect from some of their transfers and incoming freshmen. We've got games to watch off of that interview. There are three games that I've kind of highlighted to watch for Ohio State coming up with that. And then I've got my top 50 Big Ten players of all time. Today, I'll go through the first five. Warning, they're in alphabetical order. They're not in order of importance, although the first person would probably suffice for that. And then I'll take your questions. So looking forward to another great show here on Bardo's Breakdown. Ryan, go ahead and roll the intro. All right, here we go. Let's see. What's going on, y'all? It's your man, Stephen Bardo. Hold on. Oh, here we go. Sorry about that. I'm back at you with a special edition of Bardo's Breakdown. I'm here with Ohio State assistant coach Jamall Walker. Jamall, how you doing this day?
Good, man. Good. Glad to be on here on the show with you, Bardo.
Well, I'm glad you came on. I appreciate your time. We won't keep you too long. But, Coach, for those that don't remember you, you've got quite a background in college basketball, previously at Illinois, but your latest stint was a really successful one at Grand Canyon. Can you explain to our viewers back here in the Big Ten area how special that run was for Grand Canyon University the last 4 years?
Yeah, it was an unbelievable run. I mean, one of the things that the Grand Canyon is just a very, very special place in the sense that it has unbelievable resources, heavy commitment from administration, but they had never been to an NCAA tournament since it turned Division I think in 2016. And so it was a young program. I mean, you got all these Big Ten programs that have been around since the 1890s, you know what I mean? And you got a young program in GCU. Was in 2016, was the first year in Division I. And Dan Marley was the assistant head coach at the time before we got there. And Bryce Drew became the head coach in 2020, right at COVID. And we got the job. I came from Illinois and, I wanted something different, wanted something new. And I love the potential of the place. And that's something that's really, really important to me when I pick a job and opportunity is to find a place that has the people, but not only that, but a heavy commitment to winning. And so that's what happened there, man. And in 2020, we went 17-7 in the COVID year. We went to the school's first NCAA tournament. We lost to Iowa, who was a 2 seed with Luka Garza and those guys. We lost in the second year to New Mexico State, who went on to beat UConn in the first round NCAA tournament. And then we went to back-to-back NCAA tournaments. We went to 3 out of 4 years while we were there, and we won the first game in school history last year, beating St. Mary's in the 5-12 game and losing to Alabama in a really good game in the round of 32. And obviously, Alabama went on to go to the Final Four.
Yeah. No, Coach, it's that Grand Canyon story is one that needs to be told nationwide. I don't think it's not as well known out in this part of the country as it is on the West Coast, but the fan support that you guys get, what makes that place so special? The games on television look like it's one of the tougher places to go and get a win on the road.
Yeah, it's electric. I think one of the things that they do is, again, administration, they do a great job of promoting and selling an environment that's conducive to that. They market it, they brand it, they provide students with resources to be good at it. They practice. They actually go. Sometimes we would go to practice and try to get shots up in our main gym, and they say, no, the Havocs are having practice to get prepared for the game. And so, I mean, it is a show, man, and the administration does a great job, and I got to give them credit for that. Now, what you got now is they've done that job, and now they've done. They had a really good product on the floor our 4 years, and that just enhanced the environment even more. Not only do you have this fun environment for students, but it was also good for families. They outside, and they actually it's Phoenix, so they actually tailgate for basketball games in Phoenix, because it's December, it's January, so they have all these rides out there in front of the arena, and people are eating food, and then they just come in and then they come in and get a basketball experience. And so credit to former Illinois alum Jerry Colangelo, who's also involved with the Grand Canyon, and he spearheads that and gives them kind of ideas and thoughts along with the president, Brian Mueller.
Well, that's a great situation out there, and I know you took a lot of experience from that that stop that you had with your coaching career. Now you find yourself at Ohio State, coming in with you guys are, to me, a little bit under the radar right now. I see who you all have brought in. I see who you guys return, and to me, it looks like you all should be preseason. At least in the upper half of the Big Ten Conference. What are your initial thoughts about coming on board here with Ohio State in the spring, Coach?
Well, first of all, you got to talk about Coach Diebler and his vision for what he wants the program to be, and his energy and drive. And the one thing I really respected about this program is the kind of the branding of Ohio State, but again, when you talk about branding, it's also about the people that are in a program. To me, that's more important than anything, than any brand or anything. And I think what Coach really wants for his program is growth. He wants guys to get better, and he's really big on relationships. So that's what I see in the program, is how we're going to move this thing forward. Is we're going to really focus in on building great relationships with our players, having trust and authentic relationships with them, and in the process get them to get better in all areas. Student, person, player. So that's. But as far as where we're at in the spring, it's going to be spring, kind of summer right now. It's just a process. You got transfers coming in, we got new guys. And so what we're trying to do is mesh these guys in the best way possible, is still establishing that culture that we want here. I know that word gets thrown around a lot, but the culture of a program is so important. And all that means is we're just trying to build good habits and create an environment where guys can be successful.
Coach Diebler did an outstanding job when he took over, and the players, Coach, seemed to really buy into whatever he was putting down. I mean, the body language, the connectivity of the players, you saw it change when Coach Diebler took over. What is one thing that our viewers can take from his ability to connect with his players? Is there something that you can share with us on that, along those lines?
I think it's just being himself. I think if relationships are important to you, then you'll feel that and you'll show that. And I think one thing that players, especially really good players, or just players at this level, man, they know and they smell out if you're real or not. And so if you're not real and you're not authentic about who you are and what you're trying to convey to these guys, they will not follow you. And so I think that's what he does first and foremost, and it's important to him. And so the relationships are important in this day and age of college basketball, where there's a lot of things going on and things are more transactional than before. I think being a transformational leader is just as enhancing to the development and the culture of a program. And I think that's what he does.
Well, obviously it's helped because you guys were as aggressive as any team in college basketball in the offseason in terms of attracting quality, high-level transfers. You talk about Meechie Johnson. Obviously, he's had experience with Ohio State previously before he went to South Carolina. You talk about Aaron Bradshaw, Kentucky, Sean Stewart of Duke, and the guy that I really like is Micah Parrish out of San Diego State. Can you talk about those guys a little bit and what their progress has looked like in terms of gelling this summer?
Yeah, I think it's a process. I think we've had some guys that, they come from different programs, and sometimes things are done a different way, and so they're just trying to understand what we want this program to be about. And so when you talk about guys that are really, really talented, that's what these guys are. I mean, they're really, really talented basketball players. They're really, really good guys. I think they're about the right things. I think that's something that was really important for our staff, is to find the guys who are about the right things and what the things we want to be about. And so the first guy you got to talk about, Meechie Johnson. I mean, he's an Ohio guy, man. He's from Cleveland. I mean, he wants to be a Buckeye. I mean, he'll tell you that in a heartbeat. This program and that emblem means something really, really important to him. Michael Parrish, the guy you like, I think he just wins, man. He's like that. He's like that song, that DJ Khaled. All he do is win, win, win.
Yep.
He's won. He's been to a final national championship game. He's been to the Sweet 16. I mean, he brings a quality of the intangibles that you need to be successful. And then you talk about two former McDonald's All-Americans, and Sean Stewart and Aaron Bradshaw. Those guys didn't have the success that maybe they wanted to have somewhere else, but they're really, really talented. And I think their thing is about being productive in college and getting the minutes that they need for their success. And I think they work really, really hard, and they're doing a really good job here in the summer to get better.
Coach, one of the most underrated guards, in my opinion, in the country is Bruce Thornton. What is he doing this summer to add to his game?
First of all, when you talk about Bruce, man, the one thing I want to talk about Bruce is he is a everyday guy. I mean, he brings it every day, whether it's the weight room or skill development, and he just works, man. He is a guy who just, it's like a 9-to-5 guy who goes down to that goes to the steel yard. He just clocks in, he clocks out, and he's ready to go. He just works hard. And so one thing he's trying to evolve in his game, I think two things we're trying to really lock in on with Bruce. One is continue to be a little bit more shiftier with the ball, being more shiftier to get in the paint. And the other thing is to be more aggressive. And, Bruce is one of those guys that's really good with the ball, but we need him to be more aggressive, more of a risk taker offensively and with the ball in his hands. If you look at his numbers, he was a high assist to turnover guy, and he had high assists and low turnovers. But I think sometime as a guard, you want to be a little bit more high risk, a little bit and aggressive with your playmaking and your ability. And so we want him getting better late in the end of the clock, and then really, really good in making decisions and pick and roll so he can hit the rollers and hit guys that are shaking up, et cetera. And so and then get solid more on the defensive end, which he's done a great job to this point, man. He's really stirred up his defense on ball, and that's really helped. That's going to really help our team at the point of attack.
I really love the way that he plays, and Bruce is, he's been in situations where they've had long losing streaks, and he shows up. They bounce back, he shows up. Is it his military? His dad's football background, does that help in developing such a good work ethic? What's going on, y'all? Okay, now you can hear me. Having some technical difficulty there. Not quite sure what happened because he was just getting into the interview, but I'll pick it up from here. Thank you to Ohio State assistant coach Jamall Walker for joining us today. Man, I wanted to see. Hold on. Stephen Bardo coming back at you. Let me see, guys. Hold on. Where were we here? What's going on, y'all? It's your man, Stephen Bardo, coming back at you with a special edition of Bardo's Breakdown. He plays, and Bruce is, he's been in situations where they've had long losing streaks, and he shows up. They bounce back, he shows up. Is it his military? His dad's football background, does that help in developing such a good work ethic? Wow. Did it again, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about that. I tried. I don't know what happened there, but technology. So as we come out of the interview with Jamall Walker, I wanted to look at 3 games that I think are interesting on Ohio State's schedule. We're not privy to the full schedule yet. They haven't. Most teams have not released their full schedule. Like certain teams, they've given you hints about specific games, but here are 3 games that I think will be kind of fun to watch and check out for Ohio State. First one up, Oregon at Ohio State. Why did I choose this one? Because the Ducks have not played in Columbus since 1971. And in that matchup in 1971, Oregon won 68-57. And Oregon had a center named Al Carlson, 6'11", that played in the NBA. And so that's a nice historical fact. So Oregon will be playing at Ohio State. We don't know the dates yet, to be determined. But I think Oregon's one of the top teams in the Big Ten this year. And them traveling to Ohio State, one of the better teams in the conference on paper to me as well. I think this would be an outstanding game. So this is the first one to check out, Oregon at Ohio State. Next up, Washington at Ohio State. Why? Because the last time they met in Columbus was 1968. Yours truly, I think the game was December 30th, 1968. So I was about 7 months old. I was a young whippersnapper back then. Ohio State wins the game 64-59. And George Irvine from Washington got drafted in the 6th round of the NBA draft off of that team. And then the last one I think is going to be an old school Big Ten slobber knocker. Like Ohio State and Indiana, these are two of the premier programs historically in the Big Ten Conference. And if you look at their rosters, I have both of these teams in the top 7 preseason in the Big Ten. And so this Indiana team with Umar Ballo, Miles Rice, Kanan Carlisle, who I think just completed Chris Paul camp. I think he was an invitee to the Chris Paul camp. So Indiana going to be very talented. That's always a great matchup when Ohio State and Indiana match up in Bloomington. I don't care what the records are of the respective programs. Those two always seem to bring out the best on each other. So that's the third game of that mix. So I'm really looking forward to these games here. Remember, guys, you can join the tribe by going to bardostribe.com, BARDOS tribe.com. Or if you want to join by text me 312-847-2739. When you go to Bardo's Tribe, you can get a free copy, y'all, FREE free, of Triple Threat, Stephen Bardo's Guide to Basketball Terminology. So make sure you go to bardostribe.com, or you can text me 312-847-2739. Now, I always do this in the all season. I like to come up with some different lists because they're always fun, and give historical background to the Big Ten Conference because there's plenty. And so I've come up with a list of my top 50 Big Ten players ever. And now it's shifted because we have to include the 4 new programs coming into the conference. And so we have to include those players, right? So Ryan, you want to put up that graphic for the people? My producer did a great job. Here are the 5 that we're going to talk about today. And the reason you're seeing this, ladies and gentlemen, I did it in alphabetical order. It's not by order of importance. However, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar may be the best player to ever play in the Big Ten Conference. So with that being said, let's break it down here. Where are we? Okay. First up, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, one of 4 UCLA players to start on 3 national championship teams, season record scoring holder for 870 points in a single season. He's got the single game record at UCLA with 61 points and a scoring average of 26.4 points per game. And he's a 3-time National Player of the Year. Now, Big Ten fans, in particular Purdue fans, I want you to go back. Go look at Zach Edey's scoring average. All right? Now, matter of fact, let's do that right now. Let's go back and look at Zach Edey's scoring average last season, because I'm going to a point here, guys. Hold on, Zach Edey scoring average this past season. Let's see. All right, so guys, Zach Edey averaged 25.4 points per game. And he was 2-time National Player of the Year. So let's keep this in perspective now, because I always think Zach Edey doesn't get enough credit. Number 9 pick in the most recent draft of the Memphis Grizzlies. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar may be the best player to ever play in the Big Ten Conference. He's got the record in scoring average, and Zach Edey is about less than a point behind him in the scoring average. That's how good Zach Edey has been, ladies and gentlemen. And that's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That's number one. Number two, very familiar name, very familiar face, Steve Alford from Indiana. I had some battles with this cat. Woo, could he score that rock? His 2,434 points set the all-time mark at Indiana. He's currently sixth on the all-time scoring list in Big Ten history, and he led the Hoosiers to a 1987 national title. Somebody that I saw in my dreams. Did not love competing against Steve because he wasn't a trash talker. Good dude, played hard, played physical, would score, would shoot, wouldn't talk trash. Just a really good guy to go up against, but dang, was he hard to stop. Well, we can shoot the leather off the rock. Next up, what do you know? Nick Anderson, Flying Illini member, scoring leader of the Flying Illini. He only played 2 seasons with Illinois. He was a Prop 48 coming in his freshman year. And so for those that don't remember, Proposition 48 did not allow players to play their freshman seasons if they didn't meet a certain academic qualification. And so Nick Anderson and Irvin Small had to sit out their freshman years. Nick played his sophomore and, of course, the Flying Illini his junior year. And then he was selected the number one first ever pick of the Orlando Magic and led the Illini to the 1989 Final Four. So glad to see that Nick Anderson made this list. Fourth on the list, another good friend of mine, B.J. Armstrong from Iowa. When he graduated from Iowa, he was the Hawkeyes all-time assist leader with 517 17 assists. He led the Iowa Hawkeyes to the Elite Eight in 1987, and he was just a flat-out winner. B.J. Armstrong would do anything it took to win, could shoot the ball from distance, could get downhill with the best of the point guards. Obviously, was a greatest setup guy, and believe he was a 3-time NBA champion with the Chicago Bulls, 3 or 4-time NBA champion with Chicago Bulls, and doing a pretty good job on the podcast side as well. So B.J. Armstrong coming in, our fourth selection today. Again, it's alphabetical order. It's not order of importance. Our last member is Taylor Battle from Penn State, one of the most underrated players, in my opinion, in conference history. Taylor started 132 of 134 games at Penn State. That's not only durability, that's dominance, right? And guys, Taylor Battle's all of 6'1", 6'2", maybe the same size as Boo Buie. But he left Penn State. Well, he's still Penn State's all-time leading scorer with 2,213 points. And he's a 3-time All Big Ten selection. Taylor Battle was rough, y'all. He was a beast. So those are 5 of the 50 top 50 players ever in Big Ten, according to Stephen Bardo, yours truly. Ryan, can you throw up that graphic one more time? Like the work that my producer Ryan did on this graphic, and just want to give you guys a visual reminder of what we just went over. So 5 of the top 50, again, not order of importance: Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Steve Alford, Nick Anderson, B.J. Armstrong, and Taylor Battle round that out. And we'll hit these the remainder of the summer so that you guys will get refreshed with these historical members of Big Ten basketball. And you know, we'll have some fun with it, because I know that will spark a little bit of conversation. All right. Got to hit you guys with the reminders. Bardo's Breakdown Summer Meetup, July 18th. That's next week. Yeah, next week in Champaign, 5 o'clock to 6:30 p.m. at Neal Street Blues. Okay. And then the following evening here in Chicago, we're going to meet up at Theory Sports Bar, 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. here in Chicago. Now, guys, don't get upset, because Theory Sports Bar is owned by an Iowa Hawkeyes grad, my man Joel. But Joel's a great guy. He's a great Big Ten. He carries the banner for the Big Ten, does a lot of good things at Theory Sports Bar off of Hubbard Street in downtown Chicago. They host a lot of different events for Big Ten teams. He's always been great to me with Bardo's Breakdown. So that's where we're going to have Bardo's Breakdown meetup a week from Friday, 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. at Theory Sports Bar. All right. We got through the show rundown. Let me get to your questions. See, we don't have as many as usual. Loved your interview on Illini Inquirer. Thank you, Fly Illini Fly. Jeremy Werner does a great job with Illini Inquirer. He covers men's football and men's basketball as well as anybody else that's covering Illinois sports. He works his tail off. He and Derek Piper. I think I'm not going to guess who else is with them, but they do a really good job of bringing Illini-centric news to the forefront on a daily basis. So thank you, Fly Illini Fly. Oh, Dory Pezzerio. What's up, Dory? Happy to see Georgie Bishonis-Vili is going to play in the Summer League, as well as Marcus Damas, Quincy Guerrier. Who do you think has a chance to go to the NBA? Well, I think I said this last week, with the way that the Chicago Bulls are reshuffling their roster, I think Marcus Damas has a really good chance of making that team. You know, NBA teams should be salivating at his size, and I know his lack of athleticism has probably kept him from some opportunities, but good thing, because Illinois got him when they needed him most, and he balled out. And so 6'6", multi-skilled, there's nothing he can't do on the court. He was forced to play point guard last year, something he had really not done. He was a primary ball handler at SIU, but I don't think he was their lead guard. I might be wrong, but I think he really had lead guard duties with Illinois this year, which are only help him at the next level. So I think out of those three guys, Georgie Bishonis-Vili, Quincy Guerrier, I think Marcus Domask has the best shot of sticking on an NBA roster. Good to see you, Dory. AVP DS, I think this might be your first time on Bardo's Breakdown. If it is, welcome. Got any idea on who our best player is going to be this year? I think he's talking about Illinois. And guys, I don't think it's much of a stretch right now. I think it's going to be Kasparis Jacksionis. Yaxionis, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. I'm gonna figure it out because we're gonna be saying his name a lot. I think he could be the best player. He's gonna have the ball. He and Boswell, I could see them starting in the backcourt together. A two lead guard lineup. Those are very difficult to contain. Very difficult. So I can see a lineup. I can see a starting five where KJ and Boswell. Sorry, I had a brain, brain art. Sorry. I can see those two starting in the back court. And I think KJ, he's got a really good feel for the game. He's got a good sized body. And I think, he's on a mission to get to the NBA. He's a guy that many think is one and done, along with Will Riley. So to me, AVP, DS, I like Kasparis to be the best player on this year's team. And I think Illini Fly feels the same way. What's up, Curtis Dietz? Good to see you. Who would you have on your all Big Ten all-time starting five? I'm not including Pac-12 teams. Okay, well, if you're not going to include Pac-12 teams, I'm just going to go off the cuff. I know I'm going to mess this up, but I'm just going to go off the cuff. Isaiah Thomas, Magic Johnson, Big Dog Glenn Robinson. Ooh, there'd be a toss-up between Zach Garcia at Iowa and Jerry Lucas at Ohio State, and then the last one, Zach Edey. I just think I've never seen a player be so dominant over a major conference that was undercovered, underrated. I don't know. I don't think we did a good enough job talking about how good Zach Edey really was. And to me, Curtis Dietz, he's got to be in your starting five all time in the Big Ten. I just referenced the number. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar still holds the record for scoring average during the season for UCLA. and that was 26.4. Zach Edey averaged 24 last season and 25.6 this season. Zach Edey's in historical category. So I would go Isaiah Thomas, Magic Johnson, Luka Garza, Big Dog Glenn Robinson, and Zach Edey. That would be my 5. What about you, Curtis? Would love to hear what you got. Great question, though. Oh, okay. He's got Steve Alford and Glenn Big Dog Robinson on his list. You can't go wrong with Steve Alford. He's 6th in all-time Big Ten scoring. Won a national championship. Can't go wrong with him. You know what, Thomas? I know they were waiting on Tomislav Ivicic and Will Riley. I don't know if they're on campus yet. I know they were working out the final details to get them on campus, but I'm not exactly sure if they're on. So I don't want to speculate on that. Good to see you again, Thomas. Thanks for tuning in as always, my man. Chad Alt. Who has better facilities in Illinois, in your opinion, and how does the facilities affect recruits' decision? Okay. Chad Alt, very good question. You often come with some good ones, so I appreciate you tuning in, man. Thank you. Facilities-wise, Nebraska's got really good. They've got really good facilities. Their practice facility that they opened 4 or 5 years ago was NBA level, and it's still very, very nice. So Nebraska's up there as some of the best facilities in the Big Ten. Purdue's facilities, since they've refurbished Mackey Arena, now their practice facility is attached to Mackey Arena, so they don't even have to go outside. They can have a training table. Obviously, the locker rooms are in there, so they can chill in the lounge area of the locker room. They can go to training table. They can do their study. They can study there. They can go over to the practice facility. They can come out, have training table, and then go on about their day. So Purdue's facilities are good as well. Ohio State's got their practice facility is nice. I believe it's in the Schottenstein Center upstairs. Michigan State, I haven't been to theirs, but I've heard I haven't been to their practice facility, but I heard it's. No, yes, I have. I'm sorry. I've been to theirs. It's good. It's pretty good. I wouldn't say it's as good as Nebraska's. Let me do a quick scan. Maryland, Rutgers, Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan State, Indiana, Purdue, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska. Yeah, I would say Nebraska. Indiana's is pretty good. Indiana's is sweet because you get fingerprint recognition to get into the facility, and it's open. It's available 24 hours to those players, so it's pretty sweet. But yeah, those usual suspects right there. You know what, Chad? Great point. I think the facilities affect players a lot less now with NIL. I think NIL trumps facilities all day, every day right now. They used to be paramount. I think they're still important. You have to be in the ballpark of some of the better facilities in your conference to be competitive. But NIL is the major factor now with recruits. So facilities used to mean a lot more than they do now. And you still have to keep pace with the people that you're trying to beat for a national championship. But NIL money, I think, trumps it all. But really good question, Chad. Thank you. What's up, Carol? I didn't realize he was at Ohio State. Just got there this spring. You might have covered this, but do you have the Bardo's Breakdown shirts for purchase? Just curious. Would be cool to wear them at the summer meetup. Carol, I got yours. You've been rocking me since day one. So those people who have been with me early on, I have something for you. One of them is a t-shirt. So I got you, Carol. You don't have to worry about paying because You've been with me from day one, so I appreciate you. What's up, Captain? Good to see you, my man. Always a pleasure. Marcus Damas was so good for the Illini. I would love to see him with the Bulls. I would too, Thomas. That would indicate that the Bulls are actually doing something right because they haven't done right in a long time. You know why the Bulls haven't done anything right and they've been mediocre? Because they continue to lead the league in attendance every single year since Michael Jordan left. Can you believe that? The Bulls still lead the NBA in attendance. So from a business perspective, why would you do anything out of the ordinary when you got a cash cow coming in? But for diehard Bulls fans like I am and other people in Chicago, we want to see contending teams. We want to see playoff teams. We don't want to see play-in teams. We want to see playoff teams. And Marcus Domask has exhibited winning basketball at SIU for 3 seasons and at University of Illinois for 1 season. I think his resume speaks for itself. And if he were to be on the Bulls, that would be a sign that someone actually pulled their head out of the you know what. Thanks, Thomas. What's up, Chad? Hard to come up with 50, but Magic, Isaiah, Glenn Rock, Big Dog, Evan Turner, D Brown, but no, with UCLA in the mix, they could eat up some spots. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Good selections, though. Good to see you, Kirk. What's going on? How many games do you think it will take for this team to mesh in pre-conference this year? Great question, Kirk, because, boy, they got some tests in the pre-conference. I think we'll know a lot by the time the Illini play Missouri in the bragging rights border war matchup. We'll know a lot. We'll know a lot around by Christmas. I think it'll take that long because when you've got Arkansas, Arkansas, Alabama, Duke, and Tennessee in your pre-conference, you're going to take some licks. You're going to learn some stuff about yourself. You're going to be in adverse situations that you want to put yourself in to learn about. And so you want to give this team time to learn from those great tests and also build some chemistry. So I think by the time December 23rd is usually the bragging rights game, or the 22nd, by that time you'll know a lot more, and I think they'll gel in that chemistry, and how the lineups will start to flush itself out around that time. Kurt. Oscar Robertson played with Cincinnati. Cincinnati to my knowledge, has never been in the Big Ten Conference. But if Cincinnati was in the Big Ten, you best believe Oscar Robertson would be on that list. And remember, Kirk, this is a top 50 list, and I have them in alphabetical order. I don't have them in order of importance or dominance or whatever, okay? Just to give you a heads up. Captain Zach Edey was the 9th selection to the Memphis Grizzlies, and I think he'll do very well. Zach has figured it out at every stop he's ever been in. When he went down to IMG Academy, and he was something like 342nd best ranked player in the country, and then he worked his tail off. He gets to Purdue, he works his tail off. 2-time national champion, national player of the year. And many think, oh, he's too slow, he can't play in the league, and then he goes lottery. So I wouldn't bet against Zach Edey at the NBA level. I think he's going to do quite well. I don't know how well, because obviously he's going to take an adjustment period, but you give him a couple years, and I think that he'll be a consistent force. Whatever his role is going to be, he will be consistent in that. And like a Luka Garza, who continues to get better at the NBA level, I think you'll see the same kind of progression with Zach Edey. Edey probably had the best career of a Big Ten player. Others might have had a better year. Oh, okay. That's fair. But his 25-point average, that's got to go down as one of the highest in Big Ten history. I got to check that, Curtis, but I think it is. Ooh, fly, line, I fly. Woo. Derek Harper. Golly. You know what? I don't think Derek Harper's in my starting five. Bruce Douglas. Man, this is this is tough. This is tough. Bruce Douglas, D. Brown, Kenny Battle, wow. God, this is tough. I got Deion Thomas. Deion Thomas. Who did I say? Deion Thomas, Bruce Douglas, D. Brown, Kenny Battle. Ugh. Who is that fifth one? Maybe Nick Witherspoon or Eddie Johnson? One of those guys. I can't even remember who the heck I said. D. Brown, Bruce Douglas, Kenny Battle, Eddie Johnson. Who was the guy I mentioned? Oh, Deion Thomas. That would be my five. What about yours, Fly, Line I Fly? Carol Poquette said she'd take Nick Aronson over Luca Garza. Nick had a great career. Carol, he only played 2 years. Luca Garza was dominant. Not that Nick wasn't, but I think we were comparing numbers. I think Luca Garza's numbers may be a little bit better overall. But I hear you. I hear what you're saying. Yeah, Curtis. Teams, they call it summer workouts. And so what they do is individual workout, and they do group workouts like the guards, the wings, and the bigs all work together. And then they can come together at the end of practice and have a 30-minute scrimmage. And so that's what summer workouts is all about. It's not hardcore team practice where they're breaking down everything. It's not that. Practices will start officially. God, I don't even know now, Curtis, because everything is blending. College basketball is becoming a year-round thing now. So October 1st, maybe official day, something like that. I don't know. Let me check, because I can't remember, Curtis, because things have shifted so much here as of late. But it does officially start in the fall. You're right. Deuces says Illinois basketball has been crickets since the scrimmage video. I prefer cicadas. Yeah, Deuces. I mean, I think what that video worked twofold. Here's why I say that. It whet people's appetites to what the possibilities are with 10 new players on the roster, right? So that was a positive. Got you and me looking for more practice video. But where I think it hurt was Jeremiah Fears and his family saw that video, and they start using their math. And they say, okay, wait a minute. KJ looked like the star of that video. 6'5" point guard. Oh, Kylan Boswell was on that video. Probably going to start. Drew Gibbs Lawhorn was torching cats with jump shots. He's going to play. That's 3. Oh, then didn't we see Ty Rodgers hitting jumpers in that clip? That's 4. And all these guards can come back. All 4 of those guys had potential to be league guards. So while that video clip was tantalizing and got Big Ten and Illinois fans excited, it may have done some damage, because soon after that video released, Jeremiah Fears decommits from Illinois and reclassifies. So I don't know if it was the NIL money that was thrown out to Jeremiah, or his family got real good in mathematics after they saw that clip. So I don't know. We'll see. But it was fun to watch, wasn't it? To get a little glimpse. And how do you say that? Like, I get the benefit if I can connect with the coaches and the time is right. I get a chance to go and watch some of these workouts, and best believe I'm going to be doing that. Checking some of these guys out and play and chemistry and being able to talk to these coaches. It's fantastic, man. I'm like a little kid. Yeah, this has been a big topic of conversation, especially after Bronny played in his first summer league game, and he didn't look great, and so he got trashed. What do I think about Bronny James' 4 years, pretty much $8 million contract? I'm ecstatic for him, Thomas. Nepotism is a part of American society, has been since the Constitution was written. We see nepotism in every area of life. It's not, it tends to make people a little bit jealous. All right, so what? And then 4 years, $8 million contract. No one held the Lakers by gunpoint to force Bryant to sign this deal. This is what they offered him. Did he have supreme leverage? Of course he did. Who wouldn't want supreme leverage in a contract negotiation situation? He has supreme leverage because of his dad. So, I mean, if the Lakers wanted to pay him 4 years, $20 million, I'm good with it. Get your bag, young man. Get your money. Get your money. So I'm happy about it. What do you think, Thomas? What do you think about it? I got your back, Carol. You know that. Big T versus Big Z going to be fun. Glad they scheduled that one. Fly Line Fly is referring to Illinois versus Arkansas. And so I can't begin to pronounce this young man's name that played for Coach Calipari at Kentucky. He's followed Calipari to Arkansas, so he will be. He may not even be the starting center. Isn't there a kid that came back? Didn't Trevor Brazile come back to Arkansas? And if he did, he would more than likely be the starting center. But however it shakes out, Tomislav Isevich will more than likely be the starting center for the Illini this season. He or Morez Johnson going up against Big Z, 7-footer for Kentucky. That's going to be fun to watch. I agree, Fly Line Fly. Oh, my goodness. Chad, we knew it was going to happen. And at some point, the big boys are going to break away and do their own thing. We don't know when. It's a matter of if. I mean, it's a matter of when, not if. In my opinion, there will more than likely be 2 mega conferences that will break away from the NCAA. The remainder of the schools that are in the NCAA will figure out what they're doing, but it will be aside and away from what the mega conferences will come up with. We've already seen it with football. And so I think it's just a matter of time. So I don't know what's going to happen to the other conferences. I think the ACC, I mean, they kind of look like they're on shaky ground with the lawsuits in that conference and some of their charter members wanting to leave. The Big 12 is doing everything that they possibly can. Brett Yormark, I believe is how you pronounce the Big 12 commissioner's name. He has been uber aggressive in expanding the Big 12 and trying to make it a desirable location for programs, but I don't know if they have enough television markets to sustain and competing. I don't know if their television contracts will pay them per school what the SEC and Big Ten are receiving. So my guess is the SEC and the Big Ten will be the 2 mega conferences. They'll break away from the NCAA. And then what happens to the rest of the member institutions in the NCAA, I don't really know, Chad. It's going to be fascinating to watch, though. because it's going to look a lot different than your dad's NCAA. That's for sure. Kirk, you're cool. All good. No worries. Darren Williams, Kendall Gill, Nick Anderson, Brian Cook, and Deion Thomas. I did mine by position. Okay. Well, CD, Curtis Dietz, if you're putting Darren Williams in over even D Brown, Derek Harper, and Bruce Douglas, you got to remember, guys, Darren Williams was the 4th leading scorer on that Illinois team, but he was the number 3 pick in the NBA draft. So Darren had a good career at Illinois, but his career took off once he got to the NBA. So I think when you're looking at this, I don't know. I wouldn't put Darren in terms of the statistics that he accrued at Illinois. If we're looking at their body of work at Illinois, I don't know. Brian Cook, I don't know. You got good choices, though. Let's see what Fly came up with. D. Brown, Terrence Shannon Jr., Nick Anderson, Kenny Battle, Kofi Coburn. That's a nice 5. That's a nice 5. Deuces, I got put on the spot, baby. Frankie Williams was a beast. He was in terms of talent, Frankie might have had more talent than any guard that ever played Illinois. So he was a monster. You're right, Deuces. And Terrence Shannon Jr., he top 5 ever. He probably had the best season this past season of any Illinois player. I'll give him that. But career, his 2 years at Illinois, I don't know. Chad, Bobby Knight was in shock, as were the other 16,000 Indiana fans. That was some of the sweetest silence I've ever heard. Like gasp. And all you heard was the celebration from the players, the support staff, my dad, who jumped over the bench and got into the floor celebration with us. So I don't think I think they did shake hands after the game. I think they did, Chad, if I'm not mistaken. Lou broke away and saw Bob and walked towards his direction. Then Bob Knight saw him and then came back and they shook hands. Because back then, man, it was code. You did not break code. The coaches always shook each other's hands, whether they were ticked off at each other or not. So I do believe they did, but people were in shock that day, buddy. And that was one of the sweetest basketball experiences I've ever been a part of. Oh, okay, you're going to change Deion for Kofi? I'm down with that. Okay. Thanks for the heads up, Kyrie. I like the fact they're splitting these guys up so we get a chance to see them. You know, my man, Lindsey Huddleston. I believe Lindsey's I think he's on Instagram. He's been interviewing the Michigan State players who are playing in this program, doing a great job doing it as well, giving really good background and feedback on these players. So go look up it's Lindsay, Huddleston, Huddle, Ston, Lindsey Huddleston. And he's been interviewing these guys. He's been at that pro-am up in Michigan. So, Kyrie, thanks for that heads up, man. Okay. Didn't see it. Fears size. He didn't need a minimum of 2 years. He is no one and done. Yeah, I don't think I think all these guys think they're one and done, Chad, but most of them obviously aren't. I didn't think he had the body to be one and done, but I didn't think Rob Dillingham had the body to be one and done, but Rob Dillingham's got game. it'll be interesting to see where he ends up, fly Illini fly, because it's really late. It's kind of late in the game to be getting a 5-star point guard. So, not that other programs wouldn't want him, because it would certainly be an upgrade from some of the lead guards that are coming in. But it's kind of late in the game, so it's going to be fascinating to see where he ends up. I saw that Deuces. Illinois had the biggest jump in Bart Torvik. He does a preseason top 25 based on his analytical algorithms, and Illinois was like, weren't they like 40s? They were in the 40s, and all of a sudden now they're 17th. So I think Illinois had the highest jump in the Bart Torvik rankings. He's an analytics guy that a lot of people in college basketball follow, and I did see that, Deuces. So thanks for adding that. Joe Stovall, the NBA draft has been about potential success for almost the last decade. Now the G League is being used for development like minors in baseball. Rarely will we see a one and done or 2-year player come in the NBA and make an immediate impact anymore. I agree, Joe, because like you're saying, with NIL, people are going to stay in school longer. Because look, Coleman Hawkins is getting ready to get $2 million, y'all. Jeremy Warner pointed out in an interview I did earlier today with him that Coleman Hawkins is going to make 4 times what he would make on a rookie minimum contract. Isn't it great to be alive? Isn't it great for these players to be getting these opportunities? So that's why you see guys like Coleman Hawkins, man, they're going to stay in school because they're going to make more money in college than they are at the onset of their NBA careers. So you're spot on with this, Joe. Spot on with this. Carol, Nick played 2 seasons for the Illini. He was on the team his freshman year, but he was Proposition 48. So he didn't play his freshman year. And remember, he was foregoing his senior year to go into the draft. And so, yeah, we could have. No, it's all valid points there. Curtis, the only reason D Brown was a 2 guard is because they wanted to play Darren Williams and D in the backcourt at the same time. D really wasn't a 2 guard. He was a point guard. He just was very talented and skilled enough to play off guard alongside Darren Williams. But D Brown was a point guard. He was definitely a point guard. Great call to Curtis Dees. Go back and look at Bruce Douglas and look at his numbers. He was phenomenal. Phenomenal. No, it wasn't Jones. It was one of the best shooters in Big Ten history, Jay Edwards. It wasn't Lyndon Jones. It was Jay Edwards that hit that baseline shot. Kirk said he'd take Derek Harper, Kendall Gill, Eddie Johnson, Deion Thomas, and Nick Witherspoon. Those are pretty good. Kendall's definitely in the mix. I don't know if I'd have him top 5, but he's in the mix. Let's see. Joe Stovall says Derek Harper, Eddie Johnson, Ephraim Winters, Nick Anderson, Dave. Ooh, forgot about Dave Downey. Dave Downey was a monster. Prolific scorer. Dave Downey might have been the best scorer to play at Illinois in our program's history. He might have been the best scorer. Now, Eddie Johnson made, I don't know, we have to go back and look at Dave Downey's numbers. His scoring averages were phenomenal. I think he held the single game scoring record at when they played. I believe they played at Huff Gym. This was without a 3-point line. I believe it was 48. I think he dropped 48 or 49 a game, something like that. Dave Downey was phenomenal. Great call, Joe. Hope these NIL players have good accounts. Yes. Yeah, Chad. But here's the thing. That's education, right? You get a contract, you're signed to money. Now you have to learn how to manage it, budget it, hopefully invest the majority of it, and spend a little bit because they're college kids. They want to have a little bit of fun. Spend a little bit, take care of your family a little bit, but then invest the majority and go on. But it's an education. It's part of the educational experience. So I'm sure they do. No, Jay wasn't out of bounds. He was in bounds. He looked like he was out of bounds because he faded out of bounds after he shot the ball over Lowell Hamilton's fingertips. He was in bounds. It was nothing but cotton, all cotton. Kenny Battle is the god of the universe for me. He made crowds crack windows, deuces. Kenny Battle was phenomenal. Arguably the most exciting player to ever put on an Illinois jersey. And what a teammate. And speedy recovery to Kenny. He had a heart valve procedure. Believe it was last Friday, and he's doing very, very well. We're on the group text, and everybody was sending him love and support, and he's doing very, very well. So get rest up and get better soon, Kenny. Hope to see you soon, brother. Oh, Carol said Dave Downing scored 54 points in a game. I tend to agree with her. He was we need to go back and really look at him a little bit more because he was a phenomenal scorer. Stacey, I'm not going to be able to get these guys right now because especially Terrence, he's in summer league and their schedules are hectic. So I'm going to wait till after summer league to kind of reach out to some of these guys because they're totally locked in that scenario. And it's, I would just rather wait. With Coleman Hawkins, I probably could reach out to him and see what's going on with him and see. He would be a lot easier to get, I believe, than Terrence Shannon will at this time. So thanks for the heads up, Stacey. I'll definitely do my best to get these guys on here. It was legal because it counted. It may have looked awkward, but it did go over the backboard. It hit nothing but cotton. He was that talented of a shooter. Curtis Dietz, what was the best teammate or opponent you had in the CBA or in Europe? My best teammate was a guy named Fred Lewis. Loved Fred. 6'7", kind of a 4'3" guy, kind of a power forward, but had kind of wing skills. Tough as nails. Great character. Great guy. Loved him to death. Played with him for 4 seasons in Japan. Loved Fred Lewis to death. That was my best teammate. And I had some good ones. Joe Dumars, David Robinson briefly. I had some really good teammates. Fred Lewis was my favorite teammate of all time. Great question. All right. Thank you, Carol. Prayers for Kenny Battle. Thank you very much for that. Looks like that's going to do it for this week's edition of Bardo's Breakdown. Thank you guys for tuning in. I know there's some, usually around holidays, it's tough to get people to tune in, but you guys, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to tune in. Hope you enjoyed yourself. Hope you're really enjoying your summer. You see that I'm getting the sun on my skin every single chance I get. Doesn't it look good, y'all? Thanks so much for tuning in. You guys are the best. Let me put this up. Make sure if you want to join the tribe, got 2 ways to do it. Text me 312-847-2739 or go to bardostribe.com to get your free copy of Triple Threat, Stephen Bardo's Guide to Basketball Terminology. Bardo's Tribe, BARDOS tribe.com. All right. Look forward to seeing you guys soon. If I don't hear from you, I will definitely see you next Monday for the show. But then next Thursday and Friday, we got the summer meetups. I am so excited. that I'm going to get a chance to meet you guys face to face and talk to some of you guys, and looking forward to it. So until next time, holla, y'all.